William Sylvanus here. I want to talk to you about the 6 innate moral foundations we were born with. And no, this is not a talk about religion or Christianity. Jonathan Haidt, a professor of ethical leadership at New York University's Stern School of Business, set out to discover when we could expect evolution to lead to the death of religion. To his surprise, he instead discovered that we are born with 6 innate moral foundations. Innateness here refers to what is built in other words, what you're born with. Perhaps this quote that I'd like to read to you will help clarify the situation. The initial organization of the brain does not rely much on experience. Nature provides a first draft, which experience then revises. Built-in does not mean unmalleable, unchangeable. It means organized in advance of experience. So let's take a look. The 6 innate moral foundations are care, harm, fairness, cheating, loyalty, betrayal, authority, subversion, sanctity, degradation, and liberty, oppression. And though most religions do teach these foundations, here they are taken from scientific studies and literature. But remember, we accept or reject these innate foundations based on personal experience. Also, please remember that most people do not fit neatly behind the opposites as presented here. Now, let's take a look at each of these moral foundations individually. I will warn you right off that I will be reading most of the definitions just in order to keep the precision. So the first one is care or harm. This foundation makes us bond or not bond with others. It makes us care for others, feel compassion for others, especially the weak and vulnerable, and it influences our ability to feel or dislike the pain that other people are experiencing. Care, harm underlies kindness, gentleness, and nurturing, and it gives us very strong feelings about people who cause harm. The political opposite ways to approach this foundation are providing care or preventing harm. Which one is driving your political voice? Providing care or preventing harm? Number 2, fairness and reciprocity. Now, this foundation generates ideas of justice, rights, and autonomy. In the original conception of the fairness reciprocity foundation, fairness included concerns about equality. However, in the 2011 reformulated theory based on new data, it emphasized proportionality. That means being in proper balance. For example, even a defensive response to an unjust attack may go so far beyond legitimate defense that it causes destruction and therefore violates the principle of proportionality. Again, the political opposite ways to approach this foundation are fairness given, that is what you want to receive or experience, and fairness received, what you want others to experience. Fairness given, fairness received, what you want to experience, what you want others to experience. Which one is driving your political voice? Number 3, loyalty betrayal. Loyalty betrayal. This foundation enables forming shifting coalitions or groups. It underlies patriotism and self-sacrifice for the group. The downside is that we form large groups to cooperate, and then we join groups together with other groups, and united, we fight each other. Liberals hate loyalty when it protects the group and hinders individual freedom. The political opposites approach this foundation as a need for survival or a hindrance for the progress of good. The political opposite ways to approach this foundation are as a need for survival or a hindrance to the progress of good. So which one is driving your political voice? The need for survival or a hindrance of the progress of good? Number 4, authority or versus subversion. Now, this foundation is shaped by our long history of hierarchical social interactions. It underlies leadership and followership, including deference to legitimate authority, deference to the will of the people, and respect or dislike of rules, traditions, and customs. Sounds very 5%, doesn't it? The political opposite ways, however, to approach this foundation are authority as strength, form, and safety, or authority as responsibility and mutual respect. Which one is driving your political voice? Strength, form, and security, safety, or responsibility and mutual respect? I have to tell you, I'm having a bit of trouble here, not going on and saying more. But I realize I need to keep this concise and to the point and let your minds and your memories begin to work with them. I will try and make these available in written notes to you, probably in the comments, though that may become difficult. So now, moving back, number 5, sanctity or degradation. This foundation includes such diverse expressions as purity versus contamination, carnal ways versus noble ways, and attraction to new things versus fear of new things. Sanctity degradation feeds the divisiveness in our current political conversation around controlling what you do with your body and what you put into your body. The political opposite ways to approach this foundation are attraction to new things or fear of new things. Or put another way, purity versus contamination or degradation. Which one is driving your political voice? Purity or degradation? Number 6, and very important, liberty, oppression. This foundation is about the reactions and resentment people feel towards those who dominate them and restrict their liberty. It views authority as legitimate only in certain contexts. Both sides of the political arguments flex this foundation frequently. But how the two sides define liberty and oppression can be diametrically different. Thus, the current judgmentalism and bashing of others by both sides. The political opposite ways to approach this foundation are freedom to or freedom from. So which one is driving your political voice? Freedom to or freedom from? Based on the research conducted, liberals rely heavily on the care, forgiveness, and liberty foundations. Conservatives, and this will shock you, rely equally heavily on all 6 foundations. Still, because we people, to a degree, are blind to one or more of the moral foundations of the other in our life. We perceive the other's morally driven words and behavior as, at best, self-interest, at worst, pure evil. And the result, we demonize one another. We talk past each other because of the differing moral foundations we accept or reject. But there is hope. The more we practice cooperation and respect, the more we can start talking with each other rather than at or over one another. The more we practice cooperation and respect, the more we can start talking with each other rather than at or over one another. There is hope.